Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to another episode of That D Plus Show. Classes in session for the only show from that nerdy site that lets you know what kind of quality to expect right from the name. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and each week we dive into a different Disney Plus offering and discuss its history, how it holds up today, and our general impressions. If you like the show, we would love it if you like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Joining me today, we have Cameron Abbott, as always. How you doing, Cam?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
What's going on is today we are talking all about Moana 2 because that came to Disney Plus this week. Something that jumped out to me is the fact that we've not done a Moana episode of that.
Oh, that's
show.
true.
I was like, because peek behind the curtain whenever I go and like pull up a doc. If we've done like the first movie in the series, I take that doc and copy it. That way, I don't have to like completely start the cast from scratch and all that stuff. So I was like, oh, I'll go pull up the Moana doc. Did not find a Moana doc. And I was like, okay, I guess we didn't do it. And then sure enough, I looked through like the full That D Plus Show history of episodes, and yeah, no Moana.
No Moana.
We talked about Moana 2 back in That Nerdy Site Show episode 235, which is when Cameron saw it kind of in theaters. He also talked about Arcane in that episode, and I talked about my first impressions having seen Wicked Part 1 right then.
That's what got me to go see it right away.
Yep, indeed. So yeah, why'd we pick Moana 2? As I said, just dropped on Disney Plus this week. I did not end up seeing it in theaters, so this was my first time sitting through it, and Cameron revisiting it. A little bit of the history lesson here. Originally released November 27th, 2024, going for that Thanksgiving box office. Other releases of the time, back in October 25th, we had Venom: The Last Dance. November 1st, we had A Real Pain, which we've now done a That D Plus show on and really enjoyed. We had Heretic, which was the Hugh Grant Jehovah's Witness or Mormon missionary. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, it's Mormons. Yeah,
was it Mormons?
Yep. It's I've seen clips from it. I'm very I haven't watched it yet, but it's a very fascinating. Like the stuff I saw is very fascinating. Although I hear like it's really leans heavy on like the horror aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely a horror film.
Definitely
November
a horror
8th. Complete opposite end of the spectrum on November 13th when Hot Frosty came to Netflix, followed by Red 1 on Amazon Prime, or actually I think it was in theaters first and then eventually came to Amazon Prime. We had Wicked and Gladiator trying to recreate the Barbenheimer magic, releasing on November 22nd. And Moana 2, November 27th, as I said. It was followed up by Y2K, another horror period piece in December 6th. Kraven the Hunter, December 13th. Mufasa the Lion King and Sonic the Hedgehog 3 came out December 20th. And then Nosferatu and A Complete Unknown were Christmas Day releases, December 25th. Box office breakdown. As of last night when I pulled these numbers, the domestic gross of Moana 2 was sitting at $460.0 million. Where do you think that falls in the overall 2024 domestic gross?
I mean, it's going to be pretty up there. I'd say it's number 3.
It is indeed spot on, number 3. Oh, yes. Actually, sorry. Nope.
Is that worldwide? It's number 3?
We'll I'll give you that one. Because that was the list I was looking at. Very close to number 3, though.
Number 2?
Number 3 was Wicked. Number 2 is Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, wait, no, because Inside Out 2 is number 1. Mm-hmm. So number 4, then, I would say.
Number 4 is Moana 2, yep.
I mean, let's be fair. Moana 2 coming in behind 3 absolute juggernaut films.
Yeah.
Because also, like, I love how Inside Out 2 just ended up storming the box office and just running roughshod over everyone the entire year. Like, that was a movie they didn't send out to die, but they're like, oh yeah, because, Inside Out 1 did fairly well, so we'll do the sequel. But the sequel just, like, hit on every cylinder. Like, we talked about it on that D Plus Show episode about it.
Yep.
The best example I've ever seen of anxiety in a film ever, put on screen. It's like, oh gosh, this is this is inside my head. This movie would have been incredible to see when I was a teenager, so I could explain to like the doctors and my parents about like what's going on inside my head, like why am I this crazy? Yeah, so like I get it. This I don't want to talk too much about Inside Out 2. Go check out that D Plus episode to hear that our thoughts about it. But no, this is I'm not surprised. Number 4 is still Wicked, Wolverine, Deadpool, Wolverine, like the only Marvel film that year, last year.
Yep.
And a damn good one. So
Yeah, and that's on the worldwide front, top 3, and the only $1 billion grossers last year were all Disney: Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, and Moana 2, because Moana 2 did 1.057 billion worldwide. And technically, Moana 2 I think is still in theaters, so it could keep climbing up a little bit. Probably not making too much now that it's on Disney Plus, but
it's on those mom and pop theater shops, putting up movies that are a year old.
Indeed, or international releases.
Oh, that too. Yeah,
I mean, Moana 2 just had a long theatrical run, especially because it was making so much money. They were like, all right, yeah, we're gonna hold it and not put it on Disney Plus for a little while. Wicked did the same thing. Like, Wicked held off going straight to digital as quickly as they could have.
I think that's a good strategy. Like,
it definitely makes them more money in the theatrical window.
Yeah. Also, like, I can also see like Superstition Springs Mall had it. Like, I don't know if it still has a movie theater, but there used to be a movie theater there. But you could see movies that came out like a year and a half before, as well as like they might have a new release every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them, I think.
Those are like also like $2 tickets.
Yeah, there's also the movie theaters for the last few months haven't been like blockbuster crazy.
True.
Apart from like Captain America: Brave New World, so it's been like, hey, yeah, we've got the Oscar movies if you want to come see those, or we've got the big movies remaining still from last year, still on a screen or two. So please come to the theater. But yes, Moana 2 fared a little bit better than Wicked worldwide. Wicked ended up being number 5 in the worldwide box office. Just didn't have as much high international appeal. And Despicable Me 4 was the one that came in above Wicked there at number 4.
Not surprising. Minions. Everybody loves the Minions.
Yep. It was Despicable Me number 5 in the domestic box office. Our runtime here, 1 hour and 40 minutes. In the Walt Disney Animated Studios timeline of things, we had they've been basically targeting this Thanksgiving slot the last few years. In 2022, they had Strange World. 2023 was Wish. Moana 2 here, 2024. Zootopia 2 is slated for that time slot in November 26, 2025. And then there is an Untitled film slated for November 25th, 2026. And then Frozen 3 is slated for November 24th, 2027. So we'll see what ends up following up Zootopia. But yes, that's the Disney animation has very much laid their claim on Thanksgiving weekend. Sometimes with good appeal like this one, sometimes not, like Strange World and Wish.
Yep.
I imagine Zootopia 2 will do well, and Frozen 3, of course, will be gangbusters when it hits there.
Yeah.
Our roll call. We have a trio of directors here. We have David G. Derrick Jr., Jason Hand, and Dana Ledoux Miller. David G. Derrick Jr., this was his directorial debut, but he has done other work as a storyboard artist or head of story at Disney. Also, the directorial debut for Jason Hand, also a storyboard artist and head of story at Disney. And Dana Ledoux Miller previously worked on a short called The Hollow, ahead of Moana 2, so not their directorial debut, but they worked primarily as a writer. Speaking of our writers here, include Dana Ledoux Miller, who is credited for the story by and screenplay, previously having worked on The Newsroom, Narcos, Designated Survivor, and Kevin Can Fuck Himself. So it's a fun little mix of shows. Jared Bush, also credited for the story by and screenplay, having previously worked on Zootopia, the first Moana, and Encanto. Bex Smith gets a story by credit here, having previously also worked on Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. And Bryson Chun has additional screenplay material credit, having also previously worked on Doogie Kamealoha, MD. Our cast of characters, returning, of course, Ali Corvallo as Moana, having been in Moana and last year's Mean Girls. Dwayne Johnson, of course, also returning as Maui, having also been in the WWE, Fast and Furious, Jumanji, Baywatch, Jungle Cruise, Black Adam, and last year's Red One. And currently can be seen as the final boss occasionally on WWE stuff. Hualalai Chung is Moni, aka the Maui fan. Has previously been on Sesame Street, NCIS Hawaii, and Rescue HI Surf, so Rescue Hawaii Surf. Rose Matafeo as Loto, aka the Boat Girl. Was in Funny Girls, as well as Golden Boy and Starstruck. David Fain as Kele, aka the Farmer. Has been in Brotown, The Tattooist, Eagle vs. Shark, and Our Flag Means Death. Awime Fraser is Matangi, aka the Bat Queen. She is notably Elsa in the Maori dub of Frozen, aka Frozen Reo Maori, where she plays Elsa. Khaleesi Lambert Suda is Samea, aka Little Sis, in her acting debut. Tamura Morrison returns as Chief Tui, of course, probably best known to Star Wars fans as Jango / Boba Fett / the clones in live action stuff. But he was also Chief Tui in Moana, not the singing voice, but the acting voice. He's also, of course, in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Nicole Scherzinger also reprising her role as Sina, aka Moana's mother, from her previous work in the Pussycat Dolls, the first Moana, who's in Annie Live, and I've seen her making waves in Sunset Boulevard, first on the West End and now on Broadway.
Nice.
As Norma Desmond. Been getting rave reviews on that. Rachel House returns once again as Grandma Tala, having been in Moana. She was also Topaz in Thor Ragnarok. She's in Soul, Godzilla, Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. She's in Legend of Vox Machina, and she was Topaz in Marvel's What If. Alan Tudyk as Hey Hey, of course, having been in so many things. Take your pick. And then we get a little mid-credits tease / return of Jermaine Clement as Tamatoa, known from Flight of the Conchords, Men in Black 3, What We Do in the Shadows, and Avatar: The Way of Water. Some trivia for you. Originally began, as we touched on in our That Nerdy Site show, as a television series back when it was announced in 2020, with plans for the series to air on Disney+, but in February 2024, it was announced that the series was going to be transformed into a theatrical sequel. Unlike Moana, where Chief Tui's singing voice was provided by Chris Jackson, aka Washington, in the Hamilton musical, Tamura Morrison did his own singing as Tui in this version. Most of Moana's crewmates' names are Samoan, Hawaiian, and Maori, are of Samoan, Hawaiian, and Maori origin. Loto, the canoe engineer, means heart in Samoan. Kele, the grumpy farmer, means kal in Hawaiian. And Moni, the historian and Maui fanatic, means true in Samoan and could mean money in Maori. Additionally, Moni looks and sounds like Maui. Kotu, the Kotu, the Kakamora that joins Moana's crew, means court in Samoan. And the main villain, Nalo, the storm god, means lost, both in Samoan and Hawaiian. And two of the Moana bees are voiced by Dwayne Johnson's children, Jasmine and Tiana Johnson. And then lastly, for the music, Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear replace Lin-Manuel Miranda, who was busy working on the music for Mufasa. Barlow and Bear won a Grammy Award for Best Musical Theater Album in 2022 for their unofficial Bridgerton musical. So yeah, that's what we got there. Cam, I will throw it to you. What did you think, kind of coming back to or revisiting Moana 2?
Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of this movie. There's a lot of fun parts to it. I think that, like, I was surprised, but in like it makes sense sort of way when you told me on That Nerdy Site show that, it was originally supposed to be a Disney Plus series. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that makes so much more sense and that actually elevated my opinion of the film. The fact that they took kind of the ideas that were originally just going to be used for a TV show, and it made it was like, okay, that makes sense. Like, I'm not as disappointed in this film anymore. but it doesn't make it better in quality. I think the quality for this film suffers greatly. I feel that the music is just not as good. Very notably, Lin-Manuel Miranda did not come back to the music for this one. There is like nothing, no song in this movie is up to par with even Shiny from Moana. Like, and I think Shiny's the lowest one on it's the most unique. It's very different from everything else on the soundtrack. But especially like nothing really climbs the chart, so to speak, in my opinion, when it comes to the music of this film. I don't think it's bad necessarily, but when you have, in my opinion, some of the best bangers out of the Disney catalog from Moana 1, whether it's like the kid anthem of You're Welcome or How Far I'll Go, which is like always makes me cry. You put a dead grandma in anything, it's going to make me cry. Coco, I'm looking at you. But yeah, there's a lot about this movie that's like very likable, but it suffers greatly from its origins as originally like a TV show. The character designs are like very generic in a way that it feels very one note as far as like their outfits go.
Not even outfits, just that's my biggest thing with this.
Character wise as well. One note for sure.
The ensemble that gets added for this, the new crew members, as I kind of alluded to in their like credits, I had to throw into their credit what they were because that's the only identifying characteristic about them. And that's a thing that I feel like would have been better served in a series where, okay, an episode or two can kind of be built around each of them, and you can have like we get in this we get the hero moment for Moni when he can kind of play translator for the Kakamora. We get the hero moment for Loto when she kind of figures out how to reconfigure the ship to help at the end. There's no reason for the farmer guy to be in this. Like, he doesn't get a hero moment. I'm guessing that's something that got cut out in terms of like story stuff. Like
he doesn't
just
have a hero
there
moment
to be a curmudgeon and I guess kind of like comedic foil or something like that.
He's there to be the curmudgeon, but then at the very end, he turns his attitude around, like enough that it's noticeable. But that doesn't serve the story, and it doesn't serve his character in giving him depth and growth.
Yeah, and it's like even trying to think about like what kind of purpose he would have served in a longer form series. I'm just like, I mean, your role really only comes into play if like you're stranded on an island, which I guess we kind of get a moment of, but there's no stranded so much as, oh, they take the other ship and they use it to fix it. And that's like, I guess where we see like the most interaction of him of like, look, he's turned around and he, did a little carving on the ship to highlight, the team that they are now. And so, yeah, he like, that's the biggest thing that I think suffers from this. For me, this is very much this is the most forgettable movie I've watched in a while. This is the quintessential, and again, I think it speaks to its, series origins. 20 years ago, this would have been a straight to DVD, straight to
100%.
VHS movie.
This would have been a special that plays on Disney Channel that they would have used to get a lot of ratings.
Yeah, which not a bad thing.
No.
Like I enjoy the Enchanted Christmas Beauty and the Beast,
Sure.
DVD movie perfectly fine. But
the drop in quality from Aladdin to Aladdin 2, it's that same sort of thing.
It is exactly that. So like this was very much all right. I was just kind of like watching it go through the motions. It also does that thing that I like, that Aladdin 2 being like a good reference point that I feel like Aladdin 2 did, or that other movies of that kind of ilk did, where it's like it brings in more pop culture or like modern reference.
Very meta.
The
modern
one
references.
in particular I'm thinking about is like what he did he say? Hold your butts? No, hold your. A butt dial. Maui has a butt dial joke. That'll make sense in 2,000 years. that's just not good writing. That's not a good joke. That's like an Emoji Movie level joke.
Definitely
slotted into.
I assume I've never seen the Emoji Movie.
I mean, yeah, Emoji Movie. I'm using as like a catch-all for like terrible bad writing.
100%. Yeah.
You made a movie about emoji with Patrick Stewart as the poop emoji. Not going to be a good movie.
That's the only thing I know about the Emoji Movie.
Yeah.
That and its reference in Dimension 20's Misfits and Magic.
Yeah.
Season 1, yeah.
Yep. So yeah, like the fact that kind of our expanded, I mean, the villain is a non-entity, like quite literally, he is a storm.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And then finally shows up in the mid-credit sequence to tease, I guess, a Moana 3, which they're clearly going to make Moana 3 and make that as a movie from the jump. Because Moana prints cash for
They
for Disney.
have to redesign his character model, by the way, because it's the most generic. Like, it's so like it's so bad.
It's enough. I mean, you could completely redesign his character in the next movie and nobody would know the difference.
That's what I mean, though. You
Because
just do it.
He's not a character in this movie. He's a mid-credits tease. It would be like if take it to Spider-Man Far From Home, where J. Jonah Jameson pops up in the mid-credits in that movie. It would be like if J. Jonah Jameson was the big bad of the third movie.
That's fair.
is
All right,
what
good
this
point.
guy feels like.
Basically, yeah. No,
it's like,
you're
okay,
right.
yeah, maybe they're going to try and put together, since you have Tamatoa also showing up there, like some kind of like Avengers of bad Maori gods against Moana and Maui in the follow-up. But I don't know where they're going to go with it. And part of that is, to be fair, I don't know Polynesian culture and all that stuff, so I don't know what kind of new stories they can tell or what kind of new adversaries. But you've also made Moana a demigod in and of herself, so it'd be interesting to see like where they do go.
They could go a lot of cool places from this. This is kind of like where I end up at. Is I'm hopeful for Moana 3.
Sure.
As long as they can just keep this on track and not get lost in the project that, like, honestly, as somebody who does a lot of who has a background in doing a lot of project management, this feels like a lot of bad project management.
I mean, that is the thing. Also, I would not at all be surprised if in the move to Moana 3, that little supporting cast of characters we got in this,
they're gone.
Doesn't
They're
come.
cut. They're cut.
And they're just
I don't think they're making it.
You know what really worked? Moana and Maui. Let's go ahead and keep that as our core duo. Throw in this Bat Lady as like a will they won't they rival kind of thing, and then throw in the big bad or whatever they're gonna do there.
That's it. That's the movie that I want from Moana 3. Listen, give them as much time as you gave Mom and Dad in this movie, and satisfy anybody the off chance that people actually are really connected to these characters. Give them that moment, but move on from this. The supporting cast in this movie is so one note, just not great. I complained about it months ago when I told you about it, but listen, my review of that movie is why you didn't go out and see it.
I mean, I already wasn't planning to see it, so you just cemented I'll wait. It was always going to be I'll wait till Disney Plus kind of movie. The one character I think we will see carry forward, and especially if they do the same thing that they did with this one of letting the characters age up a bit, I think we'll see little sis going on her first adventure with Moana, and maybe even she kind of becomes I think you can play with that in terms of if Moana is now a demigod, well, her little sister is not, and so you can put the little sister in jeopardy, and now Moana has to
that's why
help save the little sister. Be interesting to see kind of where they go with it. But yeah, this very much was a the Kakamori sequence of all the coconut things coming up. I was like, yeah, this feels like this would have been an episode. This in the whole in the giant clam would have been
an episode,
one episode of the series.
You can see the seams. The seams are very apparent. Also, I'm going to say another character I want to move forward, Kotu. I like Kotu.
Which one was Kotu?
He was the little mask guy that joined their
the little Kokomora.
Yep, the little Kokomora guy. Listen, I love the Kokomoras. the fact,
Kakamora.
sorry, Kakamora. The fact that we got a Kakamora as part of the party, but he was also like, he is the definition of chaotic neutral. Like, he could save your life or he could steal your car or crash your boat, whatever it is. Like, like the whole. But I loved him the moment that he did the salute, cut the rope. Yeah, the thing with that, cut the rope.
He saves his people.
Yeah, and I'm just like, the moment that happens, like, this is a cool character. I dig this character.
That just reminded me, probably the thing I hate the most about this, the blobfish character.
Oh, terrible.
That feels of a completely different world than this.
Here's the thing. If it's a creature in, Polynesian folklore, I get it. But otherwise, I don't understand its purpose. It's not good.
This was just a way to explain how they make their little trank darts. And also it has the ability to reverse the trank dartification of them. But yeah, it was just like that. It has like the goat scream gag moment that's like
the Wilhelm scream. Yeah,
it is not specifically not a Wilhelm.
Oh, sorry, not a Wilhelm scream.
It is like
the goat
scream. Yeah,
I apologize. Not the Wilhelm scream. The goat scream.
Yeah, like it is that thing speaks the most to. This is a character that the 2-year-olds that are going to be watching this on repeat will like laugh about and giggle at, and is not a good character at all. So yeah, there were moments like that. There I was just like eye rolls and groans. I like there was a mild bit of intrigue about the Bat character from the way she's introduced in like the opening bits with Maui, which again. Going back to like seeing the seams, it's like, okay, that was clearly like the mid-credits tease of episode 1. Hey, here's what Maui's up to. He's trapped. Oh no, what's going on? Only to pick up with him a couple, episodes later because they weren't going to get The Rock for an 8-episode thing or whatever it was going to be. But yeah, like I was mildly intrigued by her, like. Being a villain to Maui, but perfectly happy to help Moana. And so her motivations are just never clear.
Yeah, it's
she seems to be very self-serving based on kind of the like he'll kill me if he knows I helped them, escape or whatever. But it's like, all right, you need a little bit more than that. So like I would have been much more interested in that character if they had been fleshed out a little bit more, which again probably could have happened in a series, but in this it's just kind of a, oh, you're here for a musical number and then you're out of the movie. So yeah, like so much of this was like the stakes didn't feel like they were existent at all until they were. And then it was like, okay, Moana's dying here. We're getting full like Hercules, trying to save Megara moment, and just struck by lightning again. That was an interesting choice. And then to be brought back as a demigod. Okay, so I'm very much left on like, all right, yeah, where does this go?
We're about to see how far she'll go.
Yeah.
Also, I want to see. Yeah. Oh, keep going. Go.
It's very much. I'm curious to see where that's going to go. What her like? Does she have some sort of new status now as a demigod? Is she a demigod to all of the peoples of the ocean that start showing up, or was that different tribes, different cultures starting to show up and bringing the world together? What like where does she fit into now this hierarchy of the mythos?
Good question.
Yeah.
It could be very well explored in a third movie. Just don't give us saddle us with all these like non-important side characters.
And yeah, what does this? I did like the this one picking up with the idea of Moana has become this wayfinder and is out there, finding other islands, but never finding people.
I love that idea. It's a very cool idea.
So yeah, I like that there was like this mythos of, okay, so she's overcome, the finding the heart of Te Fiti and restoring, bounty to the lands. I definitely got the feeling from the end of the first Moana when she lays down the conch shell at the top that they were leaving that island. So to find them right back on that island at the beginning of this one, I'm like, okay, so they didn't go anywhere. Weird.
I took it. My interpretation of that. I also thought that at the time. Since then, it's like, oh, it's basically saying like,
we don't need to stay here anymore. We can go, but we've built a life here. Fine.
And I think it's more about Moana's now. Her purpose as a wayfinder is to find the way to other people and bring their peoples together.
Yeah,
is what this movie kind of is trying to do. And I get here's the thing. I get why these other characters are there. It's to help Moana learn lessons in leadership so that she can, quote unquote, level up her game and reach that purpose of that's when she becomes a demigod. If I had to deal with those people all the time, I should be a demigod too.
You say that.
I'm joking, but yeah.
The lesson is learned through a completely forgettable montage song.
100%. Yeah, no. It's not done well. I'm not saying it's done well at all. Not whatsoever is it done well.
Okay.
It is not done well, not nearly close to okay. It's bad. It's done badly. There's a lot in this movie, like I said, there's a lot in this movie that's done very well. I like a lot of this movie. There's a lot of this movie that's done very badly, and it's nothing but peaks and valleys. And even then, the peaks aren't even that peak, but the valleys are certainly deep valleys. Like, they're gorgeous at this point. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how I feel about it. I know that I think you're a bit more down on it than I was, but I also, I watched this with children. So my viewing experience is also tempered by a toddler excited about the fun things in the movie. So that helps even things out for me.
One thing I will that I did like was the character model, the character of the former Tao Tao. I liked that was a carryover from the Voyager that we saw in the first movie in the flashbacks and that stuff. So I liked that they kind of fleshed out that character.
Well, it's also what happened to him when he left.
Yeah.
And now we get the answer that it makes sense. It works. I like that they're bringing up hey, there's a lot wrong with quote unquote the world of Moana, and Moana got saved her people and saved the peoples of the world, assumedly. But there's also more problems out there, and it's going to take someone like Moana to go out and fix those problems. And now she's brought together the peoples of the larger Polynesian, islands and cultures. I think there's been I remember when the movie came out, people were like, oh, why are somebody was like DEI black people, and somebody's like, no, here's you don't know about this culture. There's a culture of there's so many cultures represented in that scene that normally have don't ever get to see the light of day. Or definitely don't get at Western audiences.
Yeah.
So getting that opportunity to show even greater depth of Polynesian culture, I would have appreciated more of that in this movie. If she had met other peoples and picked up people to make up her greater cast, I would have been much more interested in that than she brought some island folk with her, and that was it. With how one note they all were. Granted, maybe with the show they get developed and turns out what's his name, Moni? I'm trying to remember his name.
Yeah.
Moni. Maybe Moni becomes my favorite character. I don't we don't get that though. We don't get an opportunity for these characters to really grow and shine. They just get their one note thing that they're good at, and then their one note personality.
Yeah, it definitely.
It just suffers.
I'm glad the series, when Moni gets introduced, I'm like, oh god, are they going to set him up as the love interest? And then there's this weird he kind of looks like Maui. Is you have a secret crush on Maui or something? I'm glad they did not go that route.
Did not go that route.
They are instead, perfectly fine just keeping her in romance limbo.
Sure, I think she has more important things on her mind than romance.
Yeah.
This is what really good storytelling can do with a female character does not have to be hung up on romance for her to be compelling and have an interesting story.
Yeah.
So that not being the case, I was like, oh no, is this going to be, I felt the same way. I was like, is this going to be a thing? Turns out, no, he's just a massive Maui fanboy. Writes fan fiction about him and Maui becoming best friends.
/ also well, we killed off the grandma in the last one, but we
Yep.
need somebody to know like the lore and the secret history of the
Yeah.
island because the chief doesn't know it, I guess. So like the fact that he has like the tapestries and can like be the exposition dumps when needed. It's
Listen,
like,
I
all
love a
right,
good lore
sure.
nerd. He's an okay lore nerd as far as his like character goes, but it's fine.
Yeah.
There's parts these characters I consider being fine. I know like you're much more down on them than I am. But like I said, I've seen this movie a couple of times and they haven't grown on me, but I just don't hate them as much as I did the first time I watched it.
Sure.
I mean, I never hated it. Like this movie is a fine movie for me. It's just a fine film.
Yeah.
Like nothing great. Like there's great stuff happening in it, but it's not a great film. It's not a bad film. Like this is not an egregiously terrible film.
Yep.
It doesn't like talk down to the audience. It does take time to teach you about this other culture and about this other pantheon of gods. It's really good at doing a lot of the following up on some of the groundwork that Moana 1 laid. It just doesn't do enough of that.
Yeah, it's very much a movie I will never really need to watch again.
You don't need to.
And will not think about again until a Moana 3 comes out.
You said at the time, if I remember correctly from the podcast, you said, I think I can just wait. I was like, just wait.
Yeah.
This is not one you have to go out and see.
Yeah.
This was like, turn it on, watch it, like maybe do a rewatch before Moana 3 comes out.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Maybe.
You can also just watch a YouTuber explainer that takes 5 minutes instead.
Yeah.
Either way works.
Yeah. The thing I would do is, let me check the Wikipedia for like the plot synopsis real quick and just do a skim of that.
Yep.
Oh, right. That blob thing. And then it will be very much like, I don't remember any of these character names. Oh, this was that character. Okay. Yep. There's Boat Girl. There's Old Farmer Guy. I will say, to the thing's credit, I did appreciate that they, were casting from, New Zealand performances or it was a much more like authentic sounding cast.
Sure. Absolutely.
To the region.
Listen, I am all for Dwayne The Rock Johnson being like the only him and Moana, and I guess Lil Sis being the only like Western sounding characters. Like American sounding characters, I should say. Instead, just I think New Zealand is considered part of the global West.
The song that Maui sings that is like the more like Samoan haku, not chie, no, like not that. The like when Moana is dead and he's like singing his song of mourning. Like that was the best song in the movie for me because it's the one that actually felt like it had like genuine stakes and emotion behind it and wasn't a poor imitation of another movie or another song from the first movie.
Yeah.
Because that's what all of the others ones felt like.
Oh, absolutely.
This one they're trying to do How Far I'll Go. This one they're trying to do You're Welcome. And none of those hit. But that moment, it also was the one moment that I didn't feel like Dwayne was like self-conscious about his singing and could actually just kind of do it in his range and have emotional stakes behind it. So,
I think it's the only emotional song in this entire film. So.
Yeah. And I have no idea what's being said in that song, but like it's clearly a song of mourning or reverence to Moana. And then we get the nice visual of like the spirits of the ancestors kind of creating that that spiral and bringing Moana back and lifting her up as a demigod. So like that ends up being the best moment of the movie for me, really.
Oh sure, yeah. The movie was ending.
It's very much I will still largely forget about that as well.
Probably
by the next time. But yeah, I'll be curious, especially on my future Disney excursions, like the one in a couple weeks. I'll be curious to see how much of a presence this movie has in the parks. Like if there is anything, added to Moana's stuff that references this. But I imagine it's mostly just going to be, nope, Maui and Moana. that's who we're referencing. That's who, gets the characters and stuff. Anyway, any final thoughts before we dive into the report card on this?
No, I think we're good.
Yep. So report card grading from A plus to F. I'll start on this one. Like very much like you said, this is not a bad movie by any means.
Nope.
It is very much a fine movie. It's getting a flat C for me.
Same.
It's like, yeah, it just it's completely forgettable. Not painful to the point that I'm like, haha, I'm gonna give it the D plus or just a flat out F if it's really bad. But yeah, this is certainly not like a great stellar like surprise. It's what I expected it to be, knowing what I knew about it going in, and hearing what I had heard about it going in.
Yeah.
Of like, yeah, doesn't recapture the magic of Frozen or of Moana 1. When this could have been
a Frozen 2?
Frozen 2.
Absolutely.
If it had been treated like that from the jump. But it was very much from that era of, we've launched Disney Plus, we gotta, populate it with all sorts of shows and our IP and all that stuff. And then Bob Chapek left, and they course corrected because, hey, that wasn't working for them.
Yep. Moana 2 is it's a victim of its era and its time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It came out with a C from both of us. Like, I am also giving it a C. This is just very much a straightforward thing for me.
Yep.
It's, yeah.
Extra credit, other suggestions. If you like this, go check out the first Moana. Or there's Encanto, Frozen 2, and Frozen. Snow White, A Special Look. You want to talk about another movie that I have zero interest or care about?
Yep.
There we go, Snow White. And that has nothing to do with like the politics around it. It's just, I don't care about the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and I already hate all of these live action remakes. So why am I going to go see one that I just don't care about in the first place?
For me, it's a little bit about the politics, but also a big part of it is I have not been, same as you, I've not been overly impressed by the live action remakes. They just don't seem to make sense.
Like for me, the sad thing is I really like Rachel Zegler. So I'm like saddened that she's swept up in all this. And at least she's out there counteracting the Gal Gadot of it with, Free Palestine kind of.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Even if Disney then kind of tells her to like tone it down and rein it in.
Yeah.
Fucking Disney.
Yep.
Hey, we're doing a podcast about their whole shit. Anyway, Snow White. Yeah, that's coming out, and I'm just like, not gonna like. That's one that I don't even care about doing a That D Plus show on when it comes to Disney Plus. Is how little I care about, about that movie.
Here's the thing. I do enjoy the original Snow White, but I enjoy it for like historical purposes.
Sure.
Like, I think it's a very good film as far as like the history of animation and music in animation. Like, it's a very important film. Like, anthropologically speaking, it's a very fascinating film. Entertaining? Not so much.
Yeah.
So, so this new one is not gonna, I don't expect it to be good, and I don't intend to see it, so.
Yeah, it's also, I'm curious how, like, just how long it is compared to the original. The original, less than 90 minutes. This one, not too bad. This one's slated at an hour and 50.
So much longer than its original, but
no, only about
okay.
20, 25 minutes
Okay.
longer. Certainly not as egregious as I thought it could have been. And part of that, it's very much like the Dumbo thing of like, Dumbo, wildly short animated film, so they're going to stretch it out to a modern movie. They're throwing in a lot of padding in that movie, and that's kind of what I expected for Snow White there, but apparently not. Little padding, but not seemingly egregious. Anyway, other suggestions still are Tangled or Raya and the Last Dragon or Win or Lose, which, spoilers, will be next week's episode. Now that the full series of Win or Lose is out, we're going to go ahead and revisit those 8 episodes, and chat about that next week. Extracurriculars, you watching anything else on Disney Plus? Did you watch this week's Daredevil?
I did. I watched Daredevil Born Again. I've been watching Win or Lose. I'm excited to talk about that next week as it wraps up. It's a good time for Disney Plus shows right now.
Yeah, I caught Daredevil Born Again. Didn't like this episode as much as the first 2. I thought this was a step back / a step into what I think the show was originally
I agree.
As.
Oh yeah, for sure you get that feeling from it.
Didn't particularly vibe with that.
I was fine with it.
I have not gone back to Win or Lose, so that'll be like my weekend is like, oh, let me catch up on all
Win or Lose,
episodes of Win or Lose.
That's cool.
But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of That D Plus Show. Thank you, Cam, for joining me to talk all about Moana 2 here. You can follow Cameron at revcavett.bsky.social. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
Yeah, we have a very fun Yakuza pirate filled spoiler cast, I guess technically.
No,
it's just
really
it's a review, but it's a review of a Yakuza pirate or pirate Yakuza. Sorry, Yakuza pirate in Hawaii.
Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Like a dragon. Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
In Hawaii, yeah.
To give it its
your
full
review
title.
of that is pretty in depth. You have a lot to talk about that game, so go check that out. It's a great episode.
Yeah. Also, in that episode, you talk about Chrono Cross, and then I also shared my thoughts on 2 Point Museum on that one.
Yeah.
Since I've already plugged that next week's will be Win or Lose, next week's That D Plus Show. The other thing I'll plug here, two things actually. First, our Monday That Nerdy Site show will most likely include my Monster Hunter Wild thoughts, because I've been playing that. So stay tuned for that, as well as whatever else we decide to cover. But then the big thing is, if all goes according to plan, starting next Wednesday, March 19th, I will be releasing the first of my 40 years of gaming it's going to be a 10-part series, 1 part a day. Each part is going to go over 4 years of my life, basically looking at my favorite games that were released in each year of my life in honor of my 40th birthday next week. So, so that first Wednesday will be, 1985 through 1988. And it's going to be like, let's look at the best games that were released in that year. There's a winner and then like 3 honorable mentions for each year of this big epic, like 50,000 word piece that I'm doing or whatever. I don't know what it's up to, but it's as of right now, I've gotten written all the way up through 2017. So I will be finishing it this week, but I will also have a little bit of breathing room because those last episodes will not be those last articles will not be going out until 8 or 9 days later. But yeah, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be, as I said, a 10-part series just to make it a little bit more manageable. 1 every day for 10 days, 4 years a piece. So stay tuned for that big epic thing that I've been
You've been working on it for
since
forever.
January, I think.
Yeah, after you finished your year-end list, you started working on this, and
Yep.
It's been a lot. You've been working on it pretty. I know at one point you're like, oh no, it's catching up to me.
Yeah. I had a couple like weekend days a little while back where I was like, I'm just gonna sit down and focus and knock out a few years worth to catch up and kind of stay on top of it. I'm also at the point now where I am like for the last couple years, it's like, hey, I actually have all this stuff documented now.
Yeah.
For everything pre 2014. I'm just picking like, games and stuff that resonate with me. Whereas from 2014 on, I started tracking Game of the Year conversations and I have all of that written in Trevor Trove form or That Nerdy Site form. Mm-hmm. So I'm having to do less thinking and like I can kind of draw on what I've already done for these last few years. So be a nice way to wind down the project. But I am also switching it up. So it's not a 1-for-1 with like, if this was my game of the year in such and such a year, well, that's going to be my winner for that year.
Nope, it's changed.
I have absolutely swapped some of those around. So yeah,
there are some games you didn't play that year that you are this is the very fun thing about it is I haven't read any of it. You've told me some stuff, but I'm very much looking forward to getting to enjoy it with everybody else when you publish it. To the point where like I know I could have asked you, hey, do you want me to? I want to wait. I'm very excited for the daily launch of this. I can't wait. I'm very stoked.
Yep. So stay tuned for that. Starting on my 40th birthday, March 19th, 2025, next week. So cool. All right. Well, you can follow all of us or you can follow me at trevorjstarkey.bsky.social. And that's the only place you can follow me. Well, I guess on Instagram. But I did fully deactivate my Twitter account this week because I just got so tired of that. So now I no longer have that temptation. Blue Sky is where to find me. Follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest from us, like the upcoming features. Once again, if you like what you heard, please like, rate, review, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you for joining us. As always, stay nerdy and be good to each other. Class dismissed.